Good evening, and welcome along to the show. What a lineup we have for you this week. We'll have some live music in the studios from Joan McEldowney. I'll be chatting to Richard Clements about his brand new one-man show, and we'll be talking to the Law of Attraction coach, Paul Mallon. But let's begin with some live music and a band who play Belfast tomorrow night. They're coming to the Empire. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 19th Street Band.
This is a song called I Just Had to Say. Well, I've been catching flack like a snowman's land. You keep it coming back with a helping hand, like a moth to a flame. How they play that game? Well, I'm just trying to breathe. But tell me what's your name? 'Cause I got the rhymes, you got the moves. It could be so sublime, like a new pair of shoes, like a king with the queen, trying to live the dream. They got the milk with the honey, you know what I mean. You are so beautiful in every way, unforgettable. I just had to say. But if you give me a smile, I can tell you a joke. We can stay for a while, we can go for broke. Hit that road with the travel show. We got the Delta lady down in Muscle Shoal. Big balls of fire, pie in the sky. I couldn't get much higher if I learned how to fly.
Well, I could sing you a song
All the way from Hong Kong. I can give you the key, but it wouldn't be wrong. You are so beautiful in every way, unforgettable. I just had to say. You are so beautiful in every way, unforgettable. I just had to say. Well, if you tell me a story, I can give you my word. We can go for glory and be so absurd. Just to walk in the park sure looks good in the dark. You gotta jump right in when the moment sparks. Big ball of fire, pie in the sky. I couldn't get much higher if I learned how to fly. Now I'm walking on air, just taking it in before it all slips away. You know I just had to say, you are so beautiful in every way, unforgettable. I just had to say one more. You are so beautiful in every way, unforgettable. I just had to say.
What a brilliant way to start the show this week. The 19th Street Band with Just What I Said, and I'm pleased to say that Callie and Megan join us now in the studio. Guys, welcome. Welcome to Belfast. You must have been here before at some time, Megan.
I have, many times.
Many times, exactly. But Callie, is it good to be home again?
It feels great to be back home. It's a highlight of the year to be able to bring everybody back here and put a show on and get with the family and folks and the friends. It's a feeling that it's good for the soul. Exactly.
I'm glad you mentioned the family there, because a lot of people watching this will know your dad, John T. Davis.
Certainly will. Yes, indeed. He's doing very well. It's good to see them both.
Yeah.
Down in Sea Park, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. So tell us about the 19th Street Band. Obviously, you've been based in America for some time now.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I went out to America about 17 years ago, and probably about 12, 13 years ago, I met my wife Megan, and I auditioned her for the band, and we started the band called 19th Street Band, and I moved into hers. She lived in 19th Street, so we thought, well, 19th Street. We had our first gig. We thought, so we rolled with it, and the name after doing about 230 shows a year, the name stuck with us throughout the years, and people, starts to own you after a while.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's been fun out there. We've had a lot of shows and had a lot of people and a lot of good times. And yeah, it's a bit of a nuts country, but it's a lot of fun.
Exactly. So Megan, what's it like working with your husband then?
It's great. People always say, oh my God, I could never work with my spouse. We'd kill each other. But as Callie said, he auditioned me for the band. So we've always worked together. It's not like we did other things and then kind of said, oh, let's start a business together. It kind of naturally evolved. So we're together really 24/7, but it works for us. We make a good team, taking care of the creative side of the business and the actual detail work side of the business, the booking of the gigs, the promoting. So it's nice to share the load.
Not really a job, if work comes in here and there, and you got to deal with it right away, and it's a passion as well. So we're lucky to be able to do what we love to do. And we've also got a really good rhythm section. Greg Harden and Patty Doherty, she's fiery redhead back there on the drums, and Greg's rock solid in the bass. I can't wait for tomorrow night.
So music is full time for you guys. Now, when you first met, you had your day jobs and stuff like that. But was it a big risk quitting the day job to do music full time?
Absolutely, absolutely. But it was kind of like the time. So I was a music teacher at a public high school, and I just felt like I had one foot in and one foot out of both. I was getting up really early to go to school, coming home, playing the gigs, napping before the gigs, then getting to bed at 2 a.m. and he'd be making me a lunch for the next day. And then summer would come and I'd be off school, and I was like, oh, this is what I want. Just can focus on one thing. And so we figured we just got to do it. If we're gonna try it, you just have to. But yeah, you have to give up the salary, and you have to give up, in the States, health insurance and things like that. But
there was a progression over a couple of years from working less shifts to doing more shows, and we justified the whole thing by, the whole year long. If we could survive on that salary and not touch this, then we could actually might just be able to be this full-time musicians and make it work. So we take risks, you take gambles. I think life's all about that, and you have to put yourself in the deep end of the pool. You know what I mean? It's all about getting out there, and so. We're delighted to be able to be on the show and talk to you.
Tell us about the song that we just heard there, Just What I Said. What's the story behind that?
I just had to say was really to do with, you are so beautiful, unforgettable. The world needs positivity. The world needs to laugh, needs to have fun, and the song it has this vibe to it that creates this happy vibe. It's really what it's all about. Music creates that vibe that people thrive on. Mental health is a bad thing, and we need music to get through,
Exactly, yes, yeah. You've also got the album out that people can check out online as well, can't they?
Yes, they can. It's called Diamond in the Rough. It's on all the places you can buy music, Spotify, Amazon, yada yada.
Yeah.
iTunes. Where do people listen to music these days? YouTube. Or we have actual CDs. We presented you with a CD earlier, and you're like, oh, an actual CD.
Actual CD.
So we will have actual CDs with us tomorrow at the Empire.
Okay, well, talking about the Empire gig, we've got to talk about the Logues are joining as well. Good friends of the show as well.
Yeah, beautiful people they are. We met them out in Waterloo, Iowa. Out in the States a couple of years ago. We did an Irish festival, and when we met them, we instantly connected. We invited them to join us, which would be it's going to be a great show. They've got a lot of energy and camaraderie, and we'll just But yeah, hats off to them for joining us.
Exactly. Now, I hear little rumours as well that you might be planning to bring America to Northern Ireland the next time you come across.
Yes, very much so. We do our own tours. We're not really a tour company. We're more of an original band, but we built a lot of shows out there in the States, and built. They've all just got involved with us and want to join us over here. We started 1 year with the Open House Festival, and then the next year we did the Open House Festival and the Belfast Barge, and the third year we got the busload and we did the whole tour. We did about 6-7 shows. We almost created a network of community of people. You know, some people are introverts, some people are out there, and we had all sorts of collections of people, and the tour just brought these people together, and they're still communicating, they're still talking, they're coming to all their shows, and it became a bit of a following, you know.
Yes,
So we're in a very fortunate position to be able to bring those guys home and do the shows, and they talk about it all year long and tell their friends.
Brilliant. Let's do another live track now. What are you going to do this time?
We're going to do a song called Nothing to Do and All Day to Do It. Kelly, you want to
story behind that?
There's definitely a story behind that one.
Yeah, well, we played a show out in Elkins, West Virginia. And there was a brewery out there we were playing. The brewery was below, and there was a youth hostel above the brewery. We stayed in the youth hostel that night after the show. The next day we were leaving. I cut it a little quick, but the next day we were leaving. There was a guy in the corner of the youth hostel, and I says to him, "How you doing, sir?" He says, "Well, I've got nothing to do and all day to do it." And we thought, that's a song.
Yeah.
We got to write that song.
We just put in the back of our heads and thought,
yeah.
hey, we should do something with that. What a great line. Never heard that.
Everybody can relate to nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
So, yeah, we finally finished it, and there it is.
We're going to hear it right now. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and the best of luck tomorrow night.
Yay.
You'll be in the Empire. Fabulous venue to play as well. So
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Robin.
Thank you, Robin.
Well, here we go. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. Here are the 19th Street Band.
Nothing to do and all day to do it. Life is hard sometimes, you gotta work through it. So hurry up and take your time, 'cause life is sweet, my love, in rhythm and rhyme.
Well, nothing to say,
No one to hear it.
and take this cut of mine,
And send me clear it.
'cause life's too short to never.
Take a chance, you gotta face the music and learn to dance. Blow that fiddle, sing that song, work that rhythm all day long. But when the push comes to shove, you think you've had enough, you got to shine it up just like a diamond in the rough. Ooh, like a diamond in the rough.
Polish toes, powder, you know.
Go and buy some fancy clothes.
And when the lights are too bright,
You think you've had enough, you got to
dress it up.
just like a diamond in the rough. Ooh, like a diamond in the rough.
Ooh,
Just like a diamond in the rough.
ooh.
We'll find a diamond in the rough.
Nowhere to be, all day to make it. The road looks rough and tired.
These old wheels can't take it.
Well, slow it down.
Yeah, not so fast. Enjoy the ride. Make it last. 'Cause there's nothing to do. And all day to do it. Life is hard sometimes. You gotta work through it. So take your time. Hurry up and wait. What will be, will be. Don't hesitate.
Jokers, wild chips are stacked up, bets are in, there's no turning back. And when the pressure's too much,
You think you've had enough?
you got to dig it up.
Just like a diamond in the rough.
Like a diamond in the rough.
Well, she was rocking and I was singing through the streets. We started swinging with just a nickel and a dime. We sing with rhythm and rhyme. We try to shine it up just like a diamond in the rough. Oh, like a diamond in the rough. Just like a diamond in the rough. We'll find a diamond in the rough. I just need a diamond in the rough. Help me out! Got nothing to do, all day to do it. I got nothing to do, it's all day to do it. I got nothing to do, it's all day to do it. I got nothing, all day to do it. Nothing to do, all day to do it. I got nothing to do, all day to do it. I got nothing to do, it's all day to do it. I got nothing, all day to do it. Got nothing to do, all day to do it. Life is hard sometimes. You gotta work through it.
My next guest on the show this evening believes that the law of attraction saved his life, and what a life this guy has had, from discovering he had alopecia during his teenage years to alcohol addiction within his family to drug addiction, gambling addiction. He's turned his life around, and a guy said to me the other day, Paul Mallon is one of the most positive people you will ever meet. I'm discovering that now. You're going to see it for yourself because Paul joins me in the studio. Paul, how are you?
Hi Robin, how are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. You've got this big event coming up on the 30th of August, which we'll talk about in a second, but I'm dying to find out about your background because you've been through so much and yet you stay so positive. Tell us your story. How did the law of attraction help you in your life?
Well, so I grew up in North Belfast, predominantly in a particular field, cross community, either side. And so life was always about, rioting, troubles, and I grew up born in 1969. So it was really starting off, yes. And so we lived in a terraced house with an outside toilet, so there was nothing inside. And money was very, very scarce. So we actually had a television that you put 10 pence in and turned the dial at the back off radio rentals. So we literally was very little money. And I don't ever remember having money in the house. Unfortunately, Dad, who was a local musician, and unfortunately got into the alcohol. So as a young child, I remember the alcohol-fueled bursts in the house as a young child and not having any notion how to deal with it. And then there was domestic violence. Again, I just didn't know. I used to go to bed, and it was myself and my two brothers at that time. And it was fear, just absolute fear, but we had no way to channel it out. And then the night that Mum and Dad that was over, I was 7. So Thomas was 8, 7 and 6. And we left the house, so it wasn't like my dad left, we left the house, and we went to stay with our grandmum up in the Antrim Road, just for safety. We were there for a number of years, to be honest, all squeezed into her wee flat. And so that was fine. Again, you just go on with life and surviving. But I always remember always never having enough money. We would shop in second-hand shops, and don't ever remember having birthday parties. And we never ever got away on a trip ever. You know, it wasn't like we ever got to Port Royal. It just didn't exist. And I didn't miss it because we didn't know. There was certainly nothing to there. And then, and I went to bed. I mean, the whole stress of everything, you know, I was taking the doctors and I had certain procedures and mesh on the bed, so, you know, the alarms would go off, and it just didn't work for me. And Mum used a wee calendar with gold stars, and every time you get so many gold stars, you get a prize. And I just wanted to stop. You know, I just felt a failure that this young boy, you know, growing up in that area. And
how did the Troubles affect you as a young boy?
Well, I always remember that a moment, I think it was around about 5 or 6, and I'm sure that they would come up, there was a family that was petrol bombed, and they died, the Dempseys. And I know the baby, so they were really young, about 21, 23, because I'd done this research afterward, and the baby was 6 months old, and they died. But I remember the coffin going up, and I'm just holding this little white coffin. I remember saying to Mum, you know, is that going to happen to us? And I, no, of course Mum's reassuring you. So, and then you were watching things, you know, shootings and men running down with balaclavas, and you could, all of this went on and on. And my dad, he did collect war memorabilia.
Right.
So we had, you know, war guns and all. And then, of course, soldiers came in and raided, and he was jailed for a period of time.
Wow.
Up in Crumlin Road Jail. And I remember going up to see him in Crumlin Road Jail, and I had no love for my father, unfortunately. I was complete fear of the man. So I used to love going up just to get the hot chocolate out of the hot chocolate machine, but we had to get searched.
Yeah.
And I remember my young brother Dee getting searched, and I found a pencil sharpener in his blazer just in the lining, and he got grilled as a 6-year-old child.
Of course,
and because we just lived, you know, we just walked, you know, Mum took us up.
And of course, where you lived as well, lots of your friends and neighbours probably would have got involved in the Troubles that were going on at the time. Were you kind of shielded from that, from your family?
No, not at all, because Mum, you know, it was all about survival then. So we played out in the street at the late, we played in the old Dunkern picture house. You know, that was our playground, you know, as young kids playing it out. And you came back and you were filthy, but so what? You got your hand-me-down clothes, it didn't really matter as long as you were safe, and she would shout, your dinner's ready, and then you would run in. And you had your street fights.
Yeah.
You know, it was about survival in those areas, but then, you know, you had the solidarity of people trying to support each other. And a couple of neighbours did die, you know, I won't mention any of the names, but some of them did die brutally. And so I was aware of the person who used to fix our little model airplanes, the Airfix. Well, he was killed, and it was like, what, you know, and trying to understand it, but we couldn't understand it, and Mum didn't know how to deal with it, and Dad certainly wasn't there to help us out with it. So the impact of there, and then going to school in Barney, you know, I was a Barney boy, and you know, almost where they eat their children, you know, you had to learn to fight, you had to, you know, or you were going to get bullied. And I was always petrified because I did wet the bed, even get into Barney. I was petrified. I was just going, oh my God, what if there, and I used to go, look, you know, because you got to bear in mind, we had outside toilets, so we didn't have showers.
Yes.
You know, in those days. So you were at the, you know, trying to get washed in a certain way that you could. And so I was always petrified, and bringing this gregarious personality to blend in so that I would kind of get away with it. And
so you're there, you're trying to blend in, and then you discover you have alopecia as well.
Well, I got the alopecia when I at 18. So the thing is, whenever I started to wet the bed, in school, of course, you're playing pitch and toss, and you're playing 3-card brag, and so you're playing all this, and then Mum would have taken us, you know, those times down to the bingo hall, and you would have sat there, and she would have just played bingo, and you were sitting, without realising you're 13, you could sit there and you were playing the bingo and doing these things.
So is this where the gambling addiction started?
At the time, what the mate was just going down to meet Mum, and then at 16, I was with a big friend, Big Phil, and we were playing snooker in the snooker hall, and there was 50 pence left. And I said, and I just started an apprenticeship in work experience. That they were so happy with my work ethic that they offered me the work experience at £65 a week, and that was 36 years ago. And the first thought was, this money will help my mum.
Yeah.
But we're in the snooker hall, I had 50 pence left, and I threw it into the poker machine. I had no idea what I was doing, and I won £10. I was hooked. And we didn't have ATM machines then. You had to go up to the bank with your bank book.
Yes, yeah.
Because I was working, as I say, I was putting money away. Most of it went to my mum. 2/3 of it went to Mum to help with the house. And at that stage, we just got somewhere first. Well, we got ourselves somewhere at around about 11, so we were with Granny for about 3 or 4 years. And Mum found the book. She found it with all these withdrawals, and she broke her heart. And I broke my heart and said, I promise you, Mum, that's it. I'll never do it again, never do it. And unfortunately, the week later, I was doing the same thing. And so not that I knew I was hooked, I didn't think anything of it, I just knew I couldn't stop. And then at 18, when whilst I was still in employment, I kind of noticed a large kind of bald patch here, and I thought, come on, I'm going bald here, or something not right here. Yeah. And then ferociously, it just moved the whole way around. And at 18, I was devastated, Robin. Yeah. And I was using mascara, my mum's mascara, to try and cover the bald patches. I was covering the hair over. Yeah. I was hairspray. Where I worked in the chimney corner in the hospitality, there was a huge big mirror at the end of the bar, and I was constantly just watching, and this was constant. Yeah. And if someone had laughed, maybe just people in the bar had laughed, well, they were laughing at me, and then my confidence. So my internal conversations were, right, okay, and then I would try to subdifuse it by, all right, how's it going? If you find a hair in your soup, now it's not mine, because at this stage it was bald. Yes, yeah. If you find it's nothing to do with me, and I was trying to make fun out of it, but I was devastated. Yeah. And couldn't go out in relationships, couldn't go out, and I wore the baseball hat everywhere I went. Yeah. Everywhere I went.
When did the moment come when you decided, I have a serious problem here?
Well, I went to Gamblers Anonymous a number of times, never ever completed a year. The wee voice in my head told me I was cured, and I was free, and I'd left the Gamblers Anonymous, and I'd done well for maybe a month or 2 months, and I was like, I'm okay to do this, or I'm okay to do that, and then all of a sudden, it's back, and then we'll go again. So I think maybe I've done about maybe 12 to 13 times in Gamblers Anonymous, which is, it does work, and the guys were brilliant and very, very supportive. It was just my ego was taking me out of the recovery, and then constantly, like the lack of money. You're taking your wages, and you're spending your wages, and you're denying yourself the things that you really want, like a nice pair of shoes. No, I don't want them. But you would put it into the machine. Yeah. But you were just getting more in your mind from that, and I was just this total reciprocation of just over and over and over, and I was just spiraling, and I was just losing who I was. Everybody thought, oh my God, you're brilliant, but inside it was not what it was at all. It really wasn't.
How did things change then? How did you find out about the law of attraction then?
I was 37, and a girl that I was working with, or used to work with, and so I believe God works in mysterious ways. I was waiting for the arcade to open, and I was half an hour too early, and I went, damn, I'll go over and have a coffee in the wee bar that I used to work in. And I went into the bar, we were having a conversation, and she was talking, and I was going, yeah. Well, right, is that great? And then she just says, here, I'm doing a course next week. It's supposed to turn your life around. I went, what, really? Yeah, can I do it? And she went, yeah. What, seriously? I'd love to. So I done the course. It wasn't the law of attraction per se, it wasn't to do with that. And it was for 3.5 days, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. And it opened my mind to how life was. And I didn't realise the things that was going on, the resentment, even towards my mum. Mm-hmm. I blocked all of these people, my brother, I just blocked out. It was all about Paul and my world. So it was about writing forgiveness letters. Like, started to write a forgiveness letter, and it was coming from my heart.
And did you get to the point where you forgive your dad?
Oh, that took I thought I had forgiven him. But when I actually started to do the exercise, and that came a little bit later on, so maybe 3 or 4 years after the discovery, because I thought, no, I have forgiven him, but I hadn't. So doing the forgiveness letters was opening up something. I remember the first time when I started to write it, I just got present to, like, why did you never buy us a present? Why did you never come and see us? Like, it was gone. Like, it wasn't like we walked out and we'd see him every Sunday as father. Yes, no, it was it. It's gone. Yeah. He never entered my life again until I was 26 when I made contact with him. And then, but it was forgiveness of friends, that I hadn't spoken to in 13 years because something happened. Yeah. And it was like, I forgive you.
Yes, yeah.
And then them ringing me up, and I, what did you want me for? And I'm like, I just want to let you know that I forgive you for what happened. And they were like, why, what happened? And I just laughed.
Yes, yeah.
I was like, I was free of it, but every time, did you ever see that part? Him? And I would just be really angry with it. And I was like, so at peace. And then with my dad, And then my mum, and it was just a big part, it was like, oh, blaming my mum for so many things in my life. And then when I explained to her and really honestly opened up my heart to her, and she thought, I didn't want to talk to you about it because I thought it was your gambling, and I thought she didn't love me.
Yes.
And so every time there was this dichotomy, every time we went to the house.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Mum. So I fell in love with my mum, like unconditionally, just a beautiful woman. And we had so many conversations. Before then, she took a stroke in 2012 with a sprack. Now she can't speak.
Right.
But I'm at peace with knowing we had the most beautiful conversation, and she gets my love and I have her love. And then just the whole law of attraction, everything I got a house, like I wanted a house. I lived in the flats in the village, and I was like, I would love to get out. This was in 2007, but the properties were like super high prices, and I was like, oh, I would so love to get a property. And
it's vision boards you do as well.
Yeah. Well, at that stage I hadn't done a vision board. I just kept sitting there going, I would love. And then all of a sudden it was like, you need to get out of the property that you're in.
Yeah.
And I went, right, where would you like to live? And I said, well, I'd like to live in this area. Okay, we've got a house there. And I went, what?
Wow.
So they gave me the house, and then 6 weeks into the house, I'm like, can I buy the house? I had no money. Like, I had not a penny in deposit. And as a tenant for a number of years, and they were like, well, yeah, you get a discount on that.
Yeah.
And when I went to the mortgage place, and they were like, no, you don't need a deposit. Your discount is your mortgage. I went, what? What? So I got this house like out of no money. So then I done a big vision board from 2020 to 2025, the 5-year vision. New car, new health. So I've lost around about 1.5 stone to 2 stone. I'm still going because I want to be 13. So it's not about losing, it's to be a certain way. The car, the house, the financial freedom, and yoga, which I start tonight.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and that's on the vision board.
Okay.
To do yoga, and my slimming work coach is actually doing yoga, and I was like, I'll do it, it's on my board. But so I had a new car, and so it's not just about putting it onto the board. There's a little bit more to it. You have to get the thoughts starting in the process. And then the other part was, I would love to be a law of attraction coach and a life coach, because I have been through a lot with the alopecia, the gambling, the drugs, all of that thing.
Yeah.
And I just put that out, and and then I just posted on Facebook, and I went, here's who I am. And the reaction was incredible, and I had some people calling me personally. I was like, thank you so much. Thank you for even just sharing it, because from that I went, oh, really? And then I'm sitting here now with you because of that post. Somebody else wanted, Patty.
Exactly, yeah.
And myself and Patty had a conversation, and I was like, this is incredible. This is what I'm following my destiny, and even if I didn't want to, something has taken me there, Robin.
And you are moving it on, because you're now taking this to the Wellington Park Hotel on the 30th of August.
I am,
so what's going to happen that night?
So people come in, it's £15. It's 2 hours, so you will sit there, and it is really, I will discuss this, who I was in my life, in a little bit more details, a little bit more personal details. Come along, and I will then take you through the journey. So it's called A Gift Within. Okay. All right, even though it's a law of attraction, and it's the most beautiful, beautiful mnemonic. Yeah. So it's a gift within is affirmations, gratitude, intentions, feelings, and thoughts. All of them exist. Everything that I've used over these last 15 years to turn this negative person who came across as very happy and very personal, absolutely I did, but self-destructive, self-loathing, to this person who, even with this bald head, just loves myself now, and not in a conceited way, but a way to accept who I am and who I'm not, and just to pursue, what I'm so passionate about, is making a difference to your life and to people's lives, to say, you can change your life by changing your thoughts.
Now, there's probably some people watching this who have been where you are, who are going through the things that you've been through, who would love to change their life, but they're a bit worried about coming along on the 30th of August and basically exposing themselves to a room full of people. What would you say to them?
Okay, you don't have to, you've just to listen. There is not one thing that you have to share unless you want to. Yeah. But it's for me to present the slides and the talk, so all of it, that you can take something away to start the process.
As with everything, you're going to get the non-believers as well.
Oh, honestly.
And you probably get them on social media, you probably...
My family were like, initially was like, well, you know, why don't you go back to the pub game? When I left the pub game, I left with no job. I didn't walk into another job. I just had to leave because I was losing who I was, my own identity, with the gambling, the smoking, and blah, 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 blah. I had to leave to figure out who I was. And people were like, why don't you go back? I went, no, I didn't come this far to go back.
Yeah.
I was held into it for 29 years because I was so petrified of leaving. I was in it since I was 16. Petrified of leaving it. Didn't know anything else. Now I just like, you know, and so if people go, you're totally fine. Live in your head in that life. You can do it, and I love you all the same for it. I don't have any qualms, no irks, no nothing. I don't get your impact as in, I choose. It's all about choice. I can respond or I can react in every situation.
Well, if people want to find out more, Tuesday, 30th of August, Wellington Park Hotel is the place to be. Paul, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And thank you for being so open and honest.
Yeah,
and
I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. And I really, honestly, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Now, time for some live music in the NVTV studios, and a lady that I can't believe we haven't had on the show over the past 20 years, because she's actually been around that long. But we're going to find out all about her after we hear one of her live tracks. This is Sea Fever from Joan McEldowney.
When the night calls my name, I'll go quiet into the dark. Where you're found, I'll sleep. For love has the power to rescue me. Must go down to the sea. I remember the day when we took that drive. I remember the blue of your eyes. I went back to sit and mourn for a love I know now should not have been born. Oh, I must go down to the sea again. I must go down to the sea. When it's my time to die, I will not discover that I have never lived. When it's my time to die, I will not discover that I have never loved. No, we'll go free to the sea again, where my heart and my mind have peace. Ooh, I will go down to the sea again. I will go free to the sea.
That's a great song called Sea Fever from Joan McEldowney, who joins us now in the studio. Joan, how are you?
I'm very well.
As I said at the start there, I can't believe we haven't had you on the show over the last 20 years.
Yeah,
you know, now is the time to come out of hiding.
Tell us about your life at the moment, because I think you've got a great life. You're living in Dubai, aren't you?
You know, I suppose that last 20 years I had made the 2 albums, which is a lot of people's careers. So I feel like I have that little jewel sitting nicely tucked away. It hasn't dated because it kind of wasn't in the ilk of Blur or an indie rock band.
Yeah.
It was kind of more going back to my contemporary Irish folk background. So those songs are pleasant to listen to. They're not. I would actually like to get a producer. You know, I like the production on White Ladder, and I like a lot of Sigur Rós, that Icelandic band. And there's that cinematic orchestra. They do a lot of like loops, and they put a bit of, you know, digital underbelly to the music, and it has a nice, how would you describe it? Like it chugs along nicely, you know, it's got a nice flow to it. So I am looking for a producer, you know, to work on the newer songs. But I've tried to make the album and the music have, not for it not all to sound the same.
Yeah.
And each song has a different story, and some of them are in swing jazz with a trumpet, and some of them are really traditional. And I think that keeps it interesting for the audience and interesting for me, because I would be very eclectic kind of person.
And talking about the trumpet, I remember listening to some of your stuff that had Lindley Hamilton on trumpet.
That's right,
Yeah.
Lindley's brilliant.
Yeah.
All of, you know, Van's people, like Nicky Scott, and, you know, I had Joan McEldowney, who's just exceptional, Stevie Quinn, the string quartet, Michael Keeney, who is brilliant production. We recorded most of it in Belfast in my front room.
Excellent,
The second album, which is, I've only really released maybe, I think, 1 song, the full song on Apple Music, but the rest of it is tucked away, and I'm going to release it. I think the day has gone by where you release a full album. People are more used with, you know, shorter clips.
Yes, of course.
On Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going to release it in singles, and then I'll, whenever maybe a couple of years pass by, then I'll release the album, the first album. But I've 3D printed this at home. This is wood.
Wow.
Wood filament. My husband printed it.
I love this. I love the feel of it.
It's like, and I think, you know, Robin, I want the listener to feel a connection that from start to finish.
Yeah.
You get, you know, it's an art form.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And these days people don't obviously think a lot about the full package, but you obviously have, even with the CD cover and stuff, which is amazing. Tell me about you growing up and stuff in Northern Ireland. Was there always music around you from an early age?
Yes and no. I would say the generation before, I kind of missed out. There was a lot of fiddlers, you know, in the house beside us. Pat Kane and his brother, they were our neighbours, and Sean Kane, he played the fiddle, and there would have been a lot of them playing, you know, beautiful airs, and before the day of TV. So, and then when TV came along and football came along, it became more about sport, and then you went in, and it was kind of a bit of annoyance if you took out the musical instrument to we're listening to the news. And then I think the Troubles didn't create a great place for music to thrive, because it was very polarised. It was either Irish music or something else. And I sort of wanted to stay in the middle. I didn't want to send out any sort of negative vibes, you know, and so I wrote really contemporary kind of tunes. I appealed to both sides of the community. And my husband, you know, he is from the other side of the wall, if you want to say it.
Yes, of course,
and you know, having the strength to not have prejudice takes a great amount of stress when you grow up in rural South Derry. Not that we were indoctrinated, but just that it was a painful place to grow up, and you could become very cynical. But I just never closed my heart to anyone. I just judge people by how they act, not what they say.
And what age were you when you decided you wanted to do this? You wanted to be a singer-songwriter?
In my final year at college, I kind of was staring in the face of a classroom door, and I thought if I could disappear behind a classroom door for all of my working life and never ever, you know, come out from those children. And I saw that with other teachers that I'd known from the generation before. They spent their entire life in one room, and that, I mean, obviously that suited them. They would have changed that if they had have wanted that. But I think being a creative person, I kind of wanted to go out and into the world and meet others.
Yeah. So you're back in Northern Ireland for a quick visit, then back to Dubai again, yeah?
That's right. I'm back to see my mum, really. She hasn't been well, and we don't live forever. So I was back at Christmas, but, you know, I just didn't do anything. And then as I say, I want to go and have experiences with people, not be in a smoky bar room. Done that in my 20s when I was in an indie rock band. Loved every minute of it. Met my husband through that. But now I am, you know, married with 2 children, and I would rather have a restaurant experience. So I'm going down to Dorina Allen's cookery school. Her husband Rory has invited me down to stay over and is putting me and a couple of friends up for the night, and I'm sure we'll get wonderful dinner.
I would imagine so, yeah.
And it's a small room with maybe, it just houses about 30 diners.
Wow.
And I'm going to be playing along with a cello and a harp.
Excellent. Sounds amazing. You're going to do one more before you leave us today as well. It's a new track you're going to do, isn't it?
Yes, it's called We Are the Music Makers. After I'd made the first album, kind of thought, oh, right, okay, this cost me £5,000 to make. What am I going to do then? Am I going to reinvest? This seems like I haven't recouped, because I didn't really want to sell my wares. I just wanted to create the art. And so then I was at you know, that period where you go, do I move forward, make this second album, or should I be doing this? This is very lavish, you know, hobby.
Yes, yeah.
And then I read a poem by Arthur O'Shaughnessy, and he said, we are the music makers, we are the dreamers of dreams, standing by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams. World losers, they say, upon whom the pale moon gleams, and we are the movers and the shakers of this world forever, it seems. And when I was really big into poetry, and still would be, and when I read that, I went, you know what? I am such a mover and a shaker. I love to come into a room and light it up.
Yes, yeah.
And why would you take that away?
Exactly.
And hide it away? So I went straight in then. I rung Mike maybe the next day, and on my birthday, I was given a poem for every day of the year, 365 poems, and I opened it up on my birthday, and that was the poem.
That's amazing.
I had that, I did that. I dropped. And I thought, well, if that isn't Arthur O'Shaughnessy giving me
exactly,
the thumbs up to keep going. And I thought he was born, like, you know, in the 70s maybe. Yeah. He was born in the 1800s. 200 years later, he influenced a singer-songwriter to keep going.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to hear the song now. Joan, it's been great meeting you. Thank you so much for coming in.
That's a pleasure. Thank you.
So here we go with We Are the Music Makers. One more time, here is Joan McEldowney.
We are the music makers, baby, now we are the dreamers of dreams. Standing by lone sea breakers, sitting by desolate streams. We are the music makers, baby, we are the dreamers of dreams. World losers, oh they say, upon whom the pale moon gleams. But I won't let you tell me who I'm supposed to be. No, I won't let you dictate. I set myself free. Kick your shoes off, come with me. Oh man, we'll dance through the doubt. I'm smiling.
Okay, let's talk a theatre now, and a new show called How to Bury a Dead Mule comes to the Lyric Theatre this September. Richard Clements is the guy behind it. He's written it, and he's also starring in the one-man show as well. Richard joins us in the studio. Richard, how are you?
Robin. Great, fantastic, lovely to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So tell us about the show, because this is the second time it's been performed, isn't it?
That's right. I did it at the Lyric Theatre in Belfast for 2 nights back in March, just to see what we had in its pilot phase, and it was a big success with audiences at the time. They really responded to the story, and so we're back for a full week at the Lyric again from the 6th to the 10th of September.
Excellent. Now, this is a story very close to your heart because it's the true life story of your granddad, isn't it?
That's right. It's been a real pet project for me. It started life in its infancy in the first lockdown, actually. I'm a musician as well, and I sat down at the piano when we all had a wee bit more time in our hands, and I wrote some music inspired by my grandfather's life story. His name was Norman Clements. He was a Royal Irish Fusilier, 1st Battalion, fought frontline campaigns in North Africa, Sicily and Italy. And we all grew up as grandchildren hearing some incredible stories of lucky escapes. The only reason I'm able to sit here now and talk to you is because of them. And I always wanted to find a way of bringing his story to life. In the first lockdown, I started writing the project, and because theatre doors were closed, I released it in audio format. It was about half the length that it currently is. But as a stage actor, primarily what I wanted to do was to stand in front of a live audience and share the story in that live environment. So I expanded the project, and it now looks not just at his time as a soldier, but also at what happened to him when he came home. He came back with severe PTSD, and so I look at how that impacted both him and the family around him.
And of course, we've learned a lot about PTSD really in the modern days, but I suppose when he came back from war, it wasn't really talked about, was it?
Well, he didn't mind him, and unlike the soldiers in the First World War who really refused to speak about anything, my grandfather almost had like a hyper focus. He really did want to focus in on what happened to him and try and find some justification for why he had been sent to war. But you're right, I mean, from a medical point of view, a clinical point of view, not enough was known about it. It wasn't really officially diagnosed as a thing until 1980 with the Vietnam War. But to be honest with you, I mean, in the course of my journey in writing this play, I've spoken to a lot of experts on the subject, and it's clear that nothing has really changed. The first mention of PTSD goes way back to 490 BC. Wow. And really there's no difference in terms of the symptoms, the way it affects families and the men themselves from all the way back then to the present day.
Wow, so what about your granddad then? It was North Africa he was based, wasn't it?
Yes, well, he arrived in Algiers and he fought a number of campaigns there, battles there, before then heading to Sicily and Italy. And I mean, there's just so many stories that I could share with you. But he had a very, very difficult time, and he was severely injured in 1944, and at that point declared unfit for further service. He had a 7-year plan. He came back in 1946 to a Belfast that didn't really know how to cope with men in his condition. Yeah.
Was he a great storyteller?
Do you know, it's interesting. He loved writing little fragments of short stories and poems. I think he was trying to find a poetic voice for what had happened to him, but could never really articulate it properly.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that part of what I've been trying to do with this is to kind of find that voice for him, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. And how does the rest of your family react to this then?
Well, this has been a real shared project for me and my mum. In that first lockdown, I spoke to her about the fact that I really wanted to do this. And she said that my grandfather passed away in 2011, and prior to that, he was in a care home in Bangor, which incidentally was on the site of the old Tonic Cinema.
Right, yeah.
And so I've set the play in the Tonic Cinema. I have this idea of him sort of conjuring up the ghosts of the past, and the old cinema comes to life, and he tells his story through that framework, you know. But anyway, going back to my mum, he would have gone round for lunch on a number of occasions, and she would say, you know, tell me the old stories, and she started recording them. And in that first lockdown, she had started to type up some of his words, so I was able to lean on those for for an authentic feel of the language of that time. And so then in those lockdowns, I would go down and see mum and dad and stand on the doorstep and talk to them and say, tell us another story about Granda. And so it became a real thing that my mum and I were able to share together during what was, well, for all of us, quite a difficult time.
Exactly, yeah. Tell us about the music in this as well, because you've got original music written by yourself too.
That's right. I suppose a sideline for me outside of acting and writing is that I love songwriting. It gives me a nice headspace when I'm hunting for the next acting job, and I've done it for a long, long time. And I also write, in addition to sort of my traditional singer-songwriter stuff, I would also write instrumental music for piano. And so I sat down at my upright piano at home, as I say, in that first lockdown, and just tried to come up with something that would be inspired by his life. And I wrote these very instrumental piano pieces. There were 5 of them, which now are incorporated within the soundscape of the show, plus additional stuff as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you open at the Lyric on the 6th of September. You've got Matthew McEldowney directing this as well.
That's right, fresh from his amazing success on Stones in His Pockets. Yeah. Matthew and I, Matthew came on board for me as director last February, and the two of us were in a little rehearsal room in the Cathedral Quarter thinking, what on earth is this show? What have we got? And it's brilliant to be able to come back this time with a bigger and better show. I have some great sponsorship this time from a number of people. The NI War Memorial Museum, Clear Pharmacy, Doyle Shipping, and also NI Screen. And so the Northern Ireland Screen Digital Film Archive, which these guys have, is an archive of footage going back 100 years in the North that anyone can access. And so the big thing for us this time is that we have video design incorporated within the show, where we're actually able to project behind me on stage. And then iScreen gave me access to people at the Imperial War Museum in London. So we have actual footage from the war at the time that we're able to incorporate within the show to give this kind of all immersive experience for audiences coming in.
And of course, for anybody who saw Stones in His Pockets recently will know what Matthew did with the projection on that as well, which was absolutely amazing.
The video design on that show was incredible, yes, and we have support from the guys that were involved in that at the Barn Theatre in Cirencester. So this time around, we're back with a bigger, better, and even more creative experience for audiences. You know.
Brilliant. We look forward to that. The 6th until the 10th of September at the Lyric. Richard, the best of luck with the show. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much indeed.
So that's all we have time for on the show this week. A big thank you to all of my guests, and we'll see you back here same time next week. Bye bye.